doing well. I wanted to make a video to introduce the 913 worksheet. As you can see, I stole the 913 worksheet and changed it up a little bit. It goes from 1 through 6 and then it jumps to 15 to 18. I didn't want to give you too much, but I did want to get specific problems that I wanted to go over. So the two that I want to discuss with you are problem number 4, which is x squared minus 12x plus 11. This one right here. You might want to jot these down, at least I'm going to, because I'm going to go over to that other sheet. And I think, let's do let's do 17. 8x squared plus 16x equals 42. So what I'm going to do now is, I have these things jotted down, and I'm going to run over to this sheet that we had been using to help us complete the square. And again, I would just strongly encourage you to use this until you feel like you don't need it anymore. We'll go through these one at a time. Hopefully I won't get stuck and screw this up, and everything will go well. That's my hope. Okay, so the first one I was going to do, again, was number 4. And number 4 was x squared minus 12x plus 11 equals 0. I'll just set it equal to 0. The first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the number you don't want. I don't want this 11 here. So that will give me x squared minus 12x equals negative 11. Next, I'll factor by the a. My a here is 1, so that's really not going to impact anything, so I'll just go ahead and do that. I want to add the perfect square, which is always b divided by 2 squared. So in this case, it's going to be negative 12 divided by 2 squared. Hopefully we realize that's negative 6. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6, and negative 6 times negative 6 is obviously 36. So I want to add 36 to both sides. But again, I need to factor in this a. In this case, it's 1, and 1 times 36 is simply 36. So I'm just going to add 36 again. And that will bring me down to 1 parenthesis x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to negative 11 plus 36. The positives are going to win by 25. Now I will do an area model of this. Again, this will allow me to make a perfect square. So I will do that. I have x squared. Again, negative 12x, so I'm going to put half of them here and half of them here. And finally, I put that 36 in because it allows me to complete the square. Now be real careful with your signs here. X times x is x squared, but x times negative 6 is negative 6x. And again, a negative 6 times a negative 6 is a positive 36. So be real careful there. Don't put x plus 6. It's not x plus 6. It is x minus 6. So x minus 6 squared is equal to 25. I will move the answers to the correct side of the equation. And I get 1 parenthesis x minus 6 squared minus 25 equals 0. I hope seeing this enough gets you a little bit more comfortable with just the idea. It's just the same steps over and over, and we just want to get that repetition. And until we have that repetition, we want to just use this framework to help us. So now we want to know what the vertex is. Well, the vertex is going to be the x value is what makes the parentheses equal to 0, which is going to be 6. And the y value is whatever the k is, and the k happens to be negative 25. And then finally, we're going to determine the a. And in this problem, the a tells us it's 1. So it opens up, and it is normal. Meaning it's not steep, it's not flat, it's just kind of a boring look. The next thing I wanted to do was number 17. We have 8x squared plus 16x equals 42. Now, a couple things. You could move 42 back over here and get it in standard form, but inevitably, 42 is the number I don't want anyway. So this one just sort of set up nicely for me, but you need to realize that you need the x squareds and the x on the same side. I would keep a positive a. Don't go with a negative 8x squared, obviously, if I subtracted it over. But long story short, they did me a favor. It looks a little unconventional, but really it just sort of jumps down to this step. So I'm good where I'm at right now. I'm just going to leave it. And again, if the x's were over here, then I would need to move the x's over here. So just be aware of that. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. It's difficult to sort of point it out on this video. I'm going to factor by a, because again, step 1 is already done. The number I don't want is gone. So I'm going to factor by 8, which is a. I'm going to get x squared plus 2x is equal to 42. And again, if you're not sure if you did this right, distribute it. 8 times x is 8x squared, and 8 times 2x is 16x. So I feel pretty good about my factoring. Just make sure you do a good job with that. We're going to take half of b squared. So 2 divided by 2 squared, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. But again, we need to factor in this 8. If I put a 1 here, it's 8 times x squared, it's 8 times 2x, so it's also 8 times 1. So it looks like I'm adding 1, but I'm really adding 8. I hope we're following that, because that's one of the crucial steps of this process. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and make an area model here. It's a pretty simple little area model. I have my x squared, 2 x's, 1x here, 1x here, and then a 1 here, so it's just going to be x plus 1. So I'm going to get 8x plus 1 squared equals 50. And again, I don't know if I explicitly said this, which I regret, but I'm not going to go back and change the old videos. But a lot of kids ask me, well, what happened to the x squared? The x squared's gone. It is not gone. It's just turned into an x times x. Don't forget, this is the product as a sum, and this is the area as a sum, and this is the area as a product. We've just written it differently. We can write 15 as 1 plus 1 plus 1, or we can write it, obviously 15 times, or we can write it as 5 times 3. And in this case, we're just choosing to write it as x plus 1 times x plus 1, rather than writing it as x squared plus 2x plus 1, but they have the exact same values. At this case, I'll subtract 50. I get 8 parentheses x plus 1 squared minus 50 is equal to 0. My vertex, again, is going to be -1, -50. -1 makes this 0, and then my k is -50. And my a on this one's a little bit more interesting. It's going to open up because it's positive, but you can see it is going to be steep because it's a number well above 1. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, this is one of the big chapters of the year. Every year, some kids get it, think it's easy. Other kids really struggle with it. So please feel free to reach out. I will talk to you guys soon. I hope everyone's doing well.